Before the awards, before the speeches, before the calm confidence you see today, Matthew McConaughey was running, not physically, emotionally, running toward approval, running toward relevance, running toward roles that paid the bills but quietly erased pieces of himself. People think addiction always looks dark. Sometimes it looks successful. Sometimes it looks like fame, money, attention, and a calendar so full you don't have time to ask the question that actually matters. Is this still me? Matthew didn't grow up broken. He grew up restless. Texas gave him space, discipline, a strong sense of right and wrong. But it also gave him an internal engine that never shut off. He wanted experience, intensity, feeling. Acting didn't find him because he was chasing stardom. It found him because he was curious about identity. Who am I if I step into another skin? What parts of me wake up when I pretend to be someone else? Early success came fast, too fast. Rom-coms, charm, that smile Hollywood loves. The industry didn't ask who he was, it told him who he should be. And Matthew said yes, again and again and again. Because saying yes felt like momentum. But momentum without direction is just speed toward exhaustion. Behind the scenes, the parties got longer. The substances got casual. Not dramatic, not desperate, just constant. A way to stay awake in a life that never slowed down. A way to feel something real when the work started feeling hollow. Here's what people don't understand about addiction at that level. It doesn't start as escape. It starts as enhancement. You don't use because life hurts. You use because life feels empty. Matthew still showed up on set, still smiled, still delivered lines. But something subtle was happening. The roles stopped challenging him. The scripts blurred together, and the industry quietly decided who he was allowed to be. The charming guy, the safe choice, the same thing again. Hollywood didn't fire him. It slowly forgot him. Calls slowed, offers dried up, not because he wasn't talented, because he had become predictable. And predictability is death for an actor. This is where most people panic. They double down. They take worse versions of the same role. They cling. Matthew didn't, not immediately. At first, he tried to outwork the discomfort. More projects, more distractions, more noise. But noise can't drown out truth forever. There came a stretch of time where the phone didn't ring. No scripts, no meetings, just silence. And silence is terrifying when your identity has been rented out to the world. That's when the substances stopped being social. They became private. Not because he wanted to disappear, because he didn't know who he was without the spotlight. Imagine waking up and realizing the version of you the world applauded isn't the version you respect. That gap is dangerous. Some people fill it with anger, some with denial. Matthew filled it with distance. He left Hollywood, physically and mentally, not as a publicity stunt, as a survival decision. He turned down millions, not because he had clarity, because he had discomfort he could no longer outrun. And this is where the real story begins. Not redemption yet, not victory. Just a man standing still for the first time in years, asking himself something most people avoid their entire lives. If no one is watching, who am I willing to be? When Matthew stepped away, the world didn't notice right away. Hollywood rarely does. It's too busy replacing you. That silence was brutal at first. No premieres, no validation, no applause echoing back what you want to believe about yourself. Just mornings that started without urgency. And when urgency disappears, your thoughts get louder. That's when he began writing. Not scripts, not jokes, not plans, truth. Messy, unfiltered reflections about who he had become and how far he drifted from the kid who once trusted his instincts. He realized something unsettling. For years, he hadn't been choosing roles. He'd been chosen by an image, and every time he accepted a part that didn't challenge him, he trained the world to expect less. That realization hurt more than any rejection, because it meant the trap wasn't Hollywood, it was compliance. The substances began losing their appeal, not through willpower, through boredom. They no longer enhanced anything, they just delayed clarity. And clarity, once it shows up, refuses to leave. Matthew made a decision that scared everyone around him. He said no to rom-coms, to money, to momentum that felt fake. He wasn't waiting for better offers, he was waiting for honest ones. Years passed, people whispered that his career was over, that he'd missed his window, that Hollywood punishes absence. They were half right. Hollywood does punish absence, but it also rewards reinvention when it's real. Then one script arrived, not loud, not flashy, just heavy, a man breaking apart from the inside. Dallas Buyers Club didn't promise success. It promised risk, weight loss, discomfort, no glamour. Matthew didn't hesitate, because when you've already lost your image, you have nothing left to protect. He disappeared into that role, not acting, translating his own internal decay into someone else's suffering. The hunger, the obsession, the recklessness. He understood it, not academically, personally. When the film released, people were shocked, not because he was good, because he was honest. And honesty hits harder than skill. That performance didn't resurrect his career, it redefined it. Suddenly, directors saw depth instead of charm, danger instead of comfort. A man who could sit inside pain without decorating it. The Oscar wasn't the turning point. It was the confirmation. The real shift had already happened years earlier, when he stopped auditioning for approval and started choosing alignment. Matthew didn't beat addiction by fighting it. He outgrew it. He didn't escape failure by hustling harder. He stepped aside long enough to hear himself think. And here's the lesson people miss. He didn't find success by chasing authenticity. He found authenticity by refusing to chase anything at all. That restraint saved him. After the Oscar, people assumed the story was complete. They like endings that feel clean, a fall, a comeback, a statue in the hand. But life doesn't move in arcs that neat. The truth is the award didn't calm Matthew, it clarified him. Because when you finally get the thing everyone told you to chase, and it doesn't fix you, something important happens. You stop mistaking achievement for direction. He could have cashed in immediately. Big budgets, safe prestige roles. Another version of the same trap, just dressed better. Instead, he slowed down again. Not because he was lost, because he was deliberate. Matthew had learned something painful the first time around. If you let the world define you once, it will try to do it again. So he built a filter, not a strategy, a value system. He asked different questions now. Does this role stretch me or shrink me? Does it cost my energy or sharpen it? Does it require me to pretend? If the answer felt off, he walked, even when the money was real, even when the attention was tempting. That discipline didn't come from confidence. It came from memory. He remembered how easy it was to disappear while still being famous. He remembered waking up unsure whether the applause belonged to him or the mask he wore. That memory kept him honest. He started talking openly about addiction, but not glamorized, about failure, but not dramatized, about responsibility, but without preaching. People listened because it didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded earned. When he wrote Green Lights, it wasn't a memoir designed to polish his image. It was a map, a record of wrong turns, red flags ignored, and moments where saying no saved his life more than saying yes ever did. The public saw confidence. What they didn't see was restraint. The kind of restraint that only comes from having lost yourself once and deciding it won't happen again. Matthew didn't become calmer because life got easier. Life stayed complex. He became calmer because he stopped negotiating with things that didn't align. And alignment is quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It just feels stable. Here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Matthew McConaughey didn't win an Oscar because he reinvented himself. He won because he returned to himself. The kid who trusted instinct. The man who valued experience over applause. The human being who learned that running hard in the wrong direction still leaves you exhausted. Addiction wasn't his enemy. Disconnection was. And once he closed that gap, the need to numb disappeared. This is the cost no one advertises. To stop chasing roles that aren't you, you have to be willing to be misunderstood for a while. To let the phone stay quiet. To let people assume you're finished. To let ego starve so integrity can breathe. Most people can't tolerate that gap. Matthew did. And that's why his second act didn't feel like luck. It felt inevitable. There's a version of Matthew McConaughey that no camera ever caught. Not the smiling movie star. Not the intense Oscar winner. Not the motivational voice people quote online. Just a man sitting alone long enough to hear himself again. That's the part most people skip, because silence feels like falling behind. Matthew learned the opposite. Silence is where you realign. When he stopped running, the world didn't reward him immediately. It tested him. It asked, are you serious about this change, or is this just a phase? Years passed before the payoff arrived. And during those years, he wasn't becoming famous. He was becoming honest. That's a harder transformation because honesty removes your excuses. You can't blame the industry once you admit you accepted the wrong roles. You can't blame pressure once you admit you chased approval. You can't blame addiction once you admit disconnection came first. That level of responsibility is heavy, but it's also freeing. Matthew stopped asking, "How do I stay relevant?" He started asking, "How do I stay true?" Those questions lead to very different lives. One keeps you busy, the other keeps you whole. He didn't quit acting, he quit betraying himself through it. That distinction matters, because many people don't hate their work. They hate who they have to become to keep doing it. Matthew understood that before it cost him everything. And that's why his comeback didn't feel desperate. It felt grounded. You could hear it in how he spoke, see it in how he chose roles, sense it in how he moved through interviews without needing to impress. He wasn't selling wisdom. He was sharing scars, and scars don't beg for attention. They just exist. Here's the lesson worth carrying forward. If you feel lost, it's often not because you don't know what to do. It's because you've been doing things that aren't you for too long. If you feel addicted, it's rarely about the substance. It's about the distance between who you are and who you're pretending to be. And if you feel forgotten, sometimes that's not rejection. It's an invitation to stop auditioning for a life that doesn't fit. Matthew McConaughey didn't save himself by working harder. He saved himself by choosing alignment over applause. And alignment always costs you first, before it pays you back. That's the quiet truth behind his story. Not that he won an Oscar, but that he learned how to stop running toward versions of himself that the world applauded and start walking toward the one he could live with. That's not a Hollywood ending. That's a human one.